we're live.
Really? Right now?
This is it.
This is the real thing.
This is the one.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome to Ask Aviator episode number 7. Yeah, episode number 7. It is a beautiful Tuesday night. We've got the pups in the shot. If you guys are not watching this on YouTube or Facebook, you're listening to it on your phone, you're just hearing weird whining and not getting to see the beauty that is these awesome dogs. So I apologize. Tonight's show is going to be interesting. I apologize for it being so late. The plan is always 6 p.m. Eastern, but tonight we had to tow students, and I'm teaching new tow tech people. So some of our instructors are learning how to operate the tow machine. They had not been doing so in the past, and I get to be the guy sitting there beside them going, higher, lower. So I have a question for all of you guys, for the pilots in the house who are already watching this live right now. How many of you guys were towed? I'd love to know that because to me, I truly, truly believe that if you don't get towed before your first flight, you are putting yourself in a terrible position. It's super important to me. I think that it's really important for all of our instructors as well. We all agree that towing is huge. The only backside of that is if you have a bunny hill, like my first guest of the night does, then it's not as necessary, but I still prefer the tow winch. It's really nice. So I have a few questions I want to answer really quickly for people. First and foremost, Sam Aviator says, I just ordered an Ozone Roadster 3, and I just got done training with Skyfield Flightworks, one of our alliance partners. Is a dramatic learning curve from the Ozone Mojo to the Roadster? Dramatic? No. It is a learning curve for sure. Usually it takes about 3 or 4 flights to get someone dialed in on it. If you have the opportunity to work with a more experienced pilot, preferably with your instructor, I would highly encourage that, because the biggest differences are that A, it comes up faster, B, you need to bring your hands lower than you'd be used to on the Mojo because the brakes are longer stock, C, it's going to turn a lot faster. It's a much more dynamic wing. It's more energetic to fly. And then final one would be the landing process, because you're going to carry so much more energy, even just trimmed to that red line, which is the neutral line. You're going to carry so much more energy. It's crazy. You want to start your flare lower, and you want to start it slower. On a quality reflex wing like the Roadster, you can pretty much wait till your toes are almost in the grass, or actually touching the grass if you have the stones for it, and then move forward from there. Manny Boy, BMX, can y'all do another show at Chalet Susanna, Lake Willis, Florida? Well, that's where my family lives. We fly there frequently. If you want to come and check it out, feel free, or just come by the shop here. I think you need to reload the questions, Nina, because we are. Yeah. All right, I'll answer that one from Amabilia. Being 5 foot wouldn't be easy for paramotoring, right? Besides takeoff and landings, would being 5 foot hinder anything else? To answer your question, no, it would not hinder anything else. The challenge with being 5 feet tall is going to be your takeoff and landing array, because having that large paramotor on your back with 125 centimeter prop, even as the smaller props, it will be a little off-putting. That said, we've done it. We've trained a lot of young ladies and young men that were very small in stature. So I think our shortest was, I think she was 5 feet tall, and she was about 100 pounds soaking wet, and she was awesome. So it's definitely doable. Now, guys, I can't see the questions or comments you've left the last 3 minutes, so feel free to post them in there again. I want to say hello to Emilio. Is Midwest PPG having a fly-in this September? I don't believe so. That would be the Indy Air Hogs fly-in, and I've not heard confirmation that it's happening again. So I know that they actually, the young lady who was running it, who is co-owner's wife at Midwest, she had her first baby. So she apparently, I heard through the grapevine that she may not be running it this year. I don't know if someone else is. Anyway, I want to take a few minutes to introduce somebody that I'm going to bring on the show. I don't expect this show to go super long because it's been a really, really, really long day. But this guy has been in the sport since before I graduated high school, which I didn't graduate. I'm a homeschool high school dropout. I shouldn't lie. But Tyson's here. Tyson lives in Seattle, Washington. He's been a flight instructor for a really long time. I'm going to ask him some questions, share his experiences. I met Tyson for the first time in person at Oshkosh. Was it last year, I think? And probably one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your entire life. And he's down here kind of seeing how we train and learning what we do here, and then sharing some of his experiences with us as well, because a good pilot's always learning, and a good instructor is always learning how to teach better. So we are definitely here to learn from him. Tyson, join us, sir.
All right.
Do you want a coffee cup?
No, I'm good.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
There's
Thanks
no coffee.
For having me, though.
There's no. All right, quick educational protocol. Ready? Up close to the mic.
Yes.
We talk into it to each other. You can talk to the camera if you feel like it.
Okay.
Usually when I have a guest, I just talk to you.
All right.
And then we can read questions if you want to, but I'll read them to you too. So, Tyson Russell, how old are you?
I am 44, just as about a week ago.
44?
Yep.
That's So that means you've been flying for how many years?
23.
23.
I got into it when I was 21.
All right, so just for the chat, how many of you guys would freaking kill to have gotten into the sport when you were 21? Like, seriously, I got to see the chat. Travis Martin says, are you keeping Tyson Russell in line? Tell him hi for me.
He's one of my
Hi,
students.
Travis. You can't really keep Tyson in line. He's like the most even-keeled dude ever. Joe asks, what are the minimum number of flights you feel letting a student go home to fly generally? Feel safe?
At least 5 to 6, and 15 to 20 would be good.
Yeah, so we're similar. If you have a rock star student who does nothing wrong their first 5 to 6 flights,
Right.
I wouldn't feel safe, but I've seen it happen. Like, we had really bad weather. They make it 8, 9 flights. Our minimums for all of the Alliance schools are 15, just because we feel like at 15 you have competency. That's gone beyond just doing what you're told.
Yeah.
This week's class, we have one student with 1 flight, one student with 12 flights, one with 16, and one with around, I think the other one has 11, and the last one has around 50.
Yep.
So
He's doing so good.
you get out of it what you put in, though. And some students have more physical abilities.
Right.
You know, Caleb's 26 years old, I think, and he's, has no shred of fat anywhere on his body. He takes
Yep.
his shirt off and the Greek gods sing. It's obnoxious. But, yeah, so he's dialing the flights in. Good question, though. I like that. Sasher says, what is the maximum safe pilot weight I need to get down to for the Mojo Power 30? This is actually a great question because we talked about this some last week. In your opinion, what's the heaviest student you'll train?
280 to 300,
Okay.
right in that ballpark.
Foot launch or trike?
Foot launch.
Okay. So we've trained up to 380 pounds on foot
Nice.
launch. He was built like a mountain.
That helps.
It did help. He flew
Yeah.
a 42-meter Swift Max, did a great job, and then a Mag Max, and then he got a 38-meter Wisp for his final wing. What we've kind of come to agreement as instructors, we had a guy recently contact us who's very heavy. He's actually about 100 pounds heavier than I am, and your height. How tall are you?
I'm 5'8".
So he's 5'8" and 100 pounds heavier than me.
Wow.
Or 5, I don't remember how tall he was exactly. But the question is not overall weight, it's height to weight ratio, right?
Yeah.
And it's also how adventurous you are. If you get out there and you do stuff, then, dude, I'll take a 380-pound guy who loves to go on hikes and is fairly physically fit, despite the fact that he's just huge.
Right.
That's fine. And the other side of it is safety-wise, right? Can we put them on a safe enough glider? You get a 380-pound guy, you can't start them on a beginner wing because they don't make beginner wings that big.
Yep.
So it's tough. If you're 6 foot tall, our max would be 280. If you're 6'8", like this guy was, then okay. If you're 5'6", 5'7", I think 240 would be max. Really, 230, 240. And it's not, and we haven't determined this stuff. And it's not at all like demeaning towards your height-weight ratio. It's simply safety.
Yep.
If you're trying to move that much weight at that height, your knees are going to be taking a brunt of it, especially foot launch. And quite frankly, a lot of the guys can't fit between the bars.
That's what I've come into an issue with, is fitting in between the bars. And obviously, like you were saying, it's height to width.
Right.
And so there are those special circumstances, but if you just, like you'd asked, if you just threw out some random numbers, that's kind of where we're at.
Well, and we feel like it's a tough place to be, too, because as a larger paramedic training company, we get a lot of requests from people who want to train.
All right.
And a lot of them are like John. John was on the show last week talking about this, where he lost, what did you lose, 70 pounds? 58 pounds,
That's
right?
awesome.
They use this as their goal to get to the weight that they want to be healthy at.
Yep.
And that's fantastic. I think it's amazing. But we also don't want to be discriminatory. But you have to look at safety. I mean, safety is always our number one concern, right?
Absolutely.
And you get someone who's too heavy, and then they get here and they can't fly, and then so we have two elements. A, we believe that service is everything. Safety is of the utmost. So we have an unsafe situation, so we can't fly them.
Yep.
So then they don't feel served.
Right.
It's like, gosh, what do we do? How do you pick the right thing? All right, Craig Taylor asks, are there going to be options of advanced courses for continuing honing the skills before SIV? Yes, Craig, we are working on it. Expect to hear about our first intermediate courses, beginning with trike transitions, thermaling, PPG 3 skills. That stuff will all be done. Do you have any at your school? And let's talk more about your school. Let's talk about your season, part of why you're here. Feel free to, I don't mind full disclosure. Share with us about your life.
All right. Well, as earlier mentioned, I got into the sport when I was 21, and flew for a couple years and racked up a bunch of flights. And I kept having people come up to me. It's like, oh my gosh, what is this? Now, keep in mind, this was before the internet and Facebook and YouTube and all that. So the only time you could really see it was in person,
Right.
just by random chance. And that's how I discovered
You
it.
got to tell the story of how you found your first pilot.
Yeah, all right. So off in the distance, I saw this little parachute-looking thing. And as I got closer, I was like, wait a minute, I think that's one of those paraglider things that I'd saw a few years earlier on TV. And ended up chasing him down for like 45 minutes, just all over the place. Obviously, he didn't have roads, but I did. And I did not want to miss out on talking to this guy. So ended up tracking him down right after he landed and started talking to him. And he ended up being an instructor in Norway and was over for a few years.
What was his name? I meant to ask you this.
Kurt Anderson.
Kurt Anderson. I know an instructor in Norway. It's not his name.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. And so he ended up training me and getting me equipment and all that. And there was like literally 2 or 3 of us in the whole state.
What motor did you fly first?
A DK Whisper Beat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I tried to get them to sponsor me when I was like 14. I was like, those look pretty.
It was kind of the motor of the time.
Yeah.
And it was very well engineered for its time. And it had a unique vest instead of strap system.
Right.
So it was...
Which still kind of freaks me out.
Yeah, it was interesting, but we didn't really have a lot of options back then.
Right. So fast forward, people are asking you for help.
Yes. So a couple years in, I felt like I had maybe enough of knowledge to be able to move forward with making some flying buddies, was kind of my heart and my intention. So I hooked up with a guy named Scott Allen of Paraborn Aviation here in Florida in 1998, and spent about 3 weeks with him. And
That's 21 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he kind of showed me the ropes on everything, and I got to go to Sun and Fun at the same time and visit that, which was really cool.
The year that the adventure crew came over, or one of those years that they came over, and they had all those crazy paramotor pilots flying.
Yes.
And DK had all the Japanese came over and were flying.
Yep.
I was there.
And Mike Hamill Jones was there with his reflex wing.
It was terrifying.
It was
to watch. The whole thing was like,
Yeah.
I was at that time I was 12 years old, and I went there with my family. And my grandfather's the last time I went to Sun and Fun with him, he passed in '97, I believe it was. And the last time I went with him, he said, "Now, son, don't you ever go over there," because it was all these little ultralights were flying around. I was like, "Those things will kill you." Now, mind you, this is the guy who flew a gyrocopter. He's a fighter pilot in World War II. Flew a gyrocopter, holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the first guy to ever do a barrel roll and a loop in a gyrocopter.
Wow.
Crashed it 12 times.
Oh my gosh.
Totaled it 6 times. Ended up in the lake upside down with one lung, unable to get his seatbelt off one time. I watched that one. This guy's telling me that ultralights are going to kill me. So, of course, the next year I went and started flying ultralights.
Good for you. You followed your heart.
Well, I followed my I don't know if I call it the heart, maybe something further south. I had to fly. It was like a must-have for me, and they wouldn't let me solo till I was 16, but ultralights, they didn't care.
Right.
So I still didn't solo till I was 16, but at least I got to try. So,
Nice.
All right, so you're at Sun and Fun. You've been training with Scott.
Yep.
Now, what happened next? 'Cause you live in possibly the worst climate in the world for paramotor flying.
You would think that, but it's actually pretty decent. So in our non-rainy season, from around May through the middle of September approximately, it's actually not that bad.
So that's what your season is there?
It is. So we typically April, May through sometime in September.
Okay.
And we usually hold anywhere from 7 to 8 classes, and we max out at 4 students per class.
And you have one assistant instructor.
Yes.
Right. So it's
Yep.
it's same ratio we have here. We
Right.
do one instructor per 2 students, unless we have intern instructors, in which case it's 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you're doing 40 plus students a year.
Yeah, and we hold crossover clinics as well. So
Yeah, you said that was a big part of your business. That's right.
Yeah, it's not too bad. So a lot of paragliding free flight guys that want to start adding the motor because they see all the benefits of it. And so they'll come see us, and we'll show them the ropes and make sure that they're safe doing it.
Okay.
And it's usually a 2 to 3 day course is what it is, and we'll try and get 2-3 guys in there on that one.
Are you a USPA instructor as well? USHPA?
I'm in the process of it. Just getting ready to get signed off.
I have my P3. I was told that I just need to finish the paperwork for a P4. I really want to get my free flight rating, just solely so I can. And I know that I can use my USPPA and my ASC tandem ratings to do tandems with my wife, but I want to do it through the right. I'm like, cross the T's, dot the I's, do it right, guy.
It's good.
But I would love, like, one of the things that we're doing at Aviator that's really important to me is I think that anyone that ever flies a paramotor should be a free flight pilot also.
I agree.
Because while paramotoring is like, Shane Denhardt described it perfectly one time. He said it's instant gratification. It's like playing a video game.
Oh, yeah.
It's right there. You hit start, and now you're gone, right?
Yep.
Free flying is artistry and emotion, and it can be devastating. You know, you wait for the perfect cycle, you launch, you sink out, you watch all your friends fly over you as you hike back up the hill or get the ride back up the hill or cable car back up the hill. But it can also have those moments. I'll never forget, I was in Canada. I've been flying paramotors for about 5 months. And we did a home exchange in Kelowna, British Columbia. And I found a guy who was a paragliding instructor up there, paraglidcanada.com. Really nice guy. He's like, yeah, come out and watch. You're a paramotor pilot. I get that. I fly paramotors also. And he says to me, he's like, listen, I'm not going to let you fly until I see your skills. And I was like, no problem.
Sure.
So I drove the truck for 3 days.
Wow.
And I had a blast. I got to know all these pilots.
Nice.
I became friends with a couple of guys. One guy I still stay in contact with. He's a dentist in Kelowna, like Terry. Good dude. So I'm driving the truck, and then at night, as everyone else is drinking beers, I'm kiting in his yard, showing him that I knew how to kite. And I'll never forget my first flight off the hill that wasn't a sled run. And that magical moment where you go off the hill, and 40 seconds later, you're looking down at the launch, and you're going, and then your first top landing, and it's just, I've never done XC stuff. Like, I've done minimal XC, 5-10 miles. I've never done like a big like XC triangle.
Right. Because
I've flown in Costa Rica, I've flown in California, but I've always flown either coastal or very minimal. Like in San Jose in Costa Rica, it's a P4 launch site because the landing areas are one. And if you go the other direction, try to get to the mountain, you sink out, you're landing in someone's yard.
Yep.
And the power lines are everywhere. So
and you only get one chance.
Oh yeah, you're not going. You can't squeeze and go back up.
Yep.
But I think that the emotional power of free flying, every paramotor pilot should experience. So this long story to say that we're trying to get powered pilots to transition to free flight and to go on adventures with us, because we have one of our trips is to go to Bozeman, Montana.
Okay.
Where we have a past student who has a giant lodge and built a free flight launch at his house.
Wow.
Right? Like, how incredible would you go spend a week or even 3-4 days with a couple of instructors who can teach you how to build your skills to the next level. And then you get your pod harness, you start doing like whatever. Like, I it's what I did. And so maybe it's just romantic for me.
No, I totally agree. Another great aspect of it is that free flight pilots usually fly in tougher conditions,
right?
With
they're
thermic activity
and
higher winds and all that. So now they're going to be a more well-balanced pilot and safer overall.
Absolutely. And there are some downsides and drawbacks to that. That's one of the reasons why we're going to teach a thermaling clinic, because with a motor, anytime you pitch, you're adding power, you're pitching back, you're decreasing pressure. That's why most motor pilots don't fly midday, and I do, but I'd say I'm a completely different pilot depending what time of day I fly.
Totally.
Right? So I also will go out and pull my mojo out and fly the mojo like crazy.
I was just going to say that. It depends upon the wing as well.
Yep. And people laugh at me. They're like, I'm going to buy a Roadster because I don't want to have a Mojo. I'll get bored of it. I'm like, dude, I log more hours in a Mojo than I fly anything else. I fly Mojos 70 to 80% of the time, and I have 7 wings in my quiver that I pull from. The Mojo is my go-to.
Yep.
Now, if it's nice, I'm going to fly the free ride because it's fun. You flew mine this morning.
I did. Yep.
Have you flown a 16 before?
Yeah, I own one.
Okay, so you know.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
All right, so back to your school. You do a lot of paraglider to paramotor transitions.
Yep.
You're teaching 40-plus people a year. You've done this for 21 years.
19 teaching. So 21 years total for.
That's right, 1999. I'm sorry.
That's good. So yeah, it's been amazing. Just an absolute blast. And I was doing it on the weekends and in the evenings. And then eventually got to the point where I was able to go full time with it about 4 years ago.
What were you doing for a living on the side?
I worked for Boeing as an aircraft mechanic on
Okay.
the 737 program.
So what was your task at Boeing? I did not know this about you, by the way,
Oh.
and I love learning this.
Yeah,
So
right
tell
on.
me more.
Aircraft mechanic in the wings building, wings division, and there was 6 steps on assembling a wing. And I was at the final stage of it, and I was one of the inspectors and mechanics. So if I found a defect or somebody
Oh,
screwed
no.
something up, then I would, within a certain tolerance, be able to fix it on the spot. If it was beyond the tolerance, we'd have to get engineering involved, and then they would give the thumbs up or thumbs down or special instructions, and then we'd fix it at that point per their instructions. And then QA, quality assurance, would come back and make sure that it looked good and then get it signed off. So, yeah, that was my job.
Do you have to be an A&P to do that job?
You do not. They prefer it. I did go to A&P school.
Okay, you're an
So,
A&P?
I
all but the
I
test?
never ended up using it.
Yeah.
So,
It's like Alex, our mechanic here. He's an A&P,
right.
and he's ready for his IA. He just needs to go take the test.
Yeah.
You know, and I hear that a lot from people. It's like, well, why? You know, it
Right.
doesn't really benefit me. So, okay, so Boeing before,
Yep.
freaking cool, by the way. How many airplanes did you build? Do you know?
Oh my gosh. Probably a good couple thousand.
Okay.
Yeah, because we were putting out approximately 45 per month.
They sell 45 737s a month?
They're up at like 52 right now per month.
I did not realize they were selling that many. I figured it was in the 20s at most.
It's like every couple hours you'd be working on the next one.
And what is the price point for a base 737? Do you know?
I think around 300 million.
Okay. David Nichols asked, what is your school? What's it called?
It
Where
is
can
called
they find you?
Fun Flying PPG.
Okay,
And
website?
website is funflyin, FUNFLYN as in Nancy.com.
Okay. So Tyson and I have known each other for a long time online.
Yeah.
I've watched what he's done, honestly, with a lot of reverence. I've always been really impressed because there's a lot of people in this business that basically all they do is badmouth and try to talk themselves up like how great they are. You've never been that guy. You've always been extraordinarily courteous, gracious, and about your students' experience versus about how cool you are. We were talking about this earlier. It's like, I've never been one of the cool kids.
Right.
I love that. And then
Thanks.
you reached out to me last week.
Yep.
And he's like, hey, so I'm interested in working with you guys, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, the way we do it is we basically, have you come down and watch a class and see how we teach and see if it's something you want to be a part of. Because it's really like all of our alliance members, all of our dealers, pretty much all of the dealers, it's been a culture fit. It's like, do we work together? Do we respect each other?
So important.
And this crazy man is like, hey, I can be there whenever in the next 2 weeks. And we had a class starting this week. So you jumped on a plane 4 days later, I guess it was.
Yep.
So explain why you're here.
Well, I respect the heck out of you and your
That's just
team.
weird.
And
My team's incredible, but I'm weird.
you guys have done so much for the sport and for the community. From the Paradigm team at the air shows promoting it, and right back at you for being courteous online and just doing the right thing for the right time.
If you need some water.
Thanks.
I'm being courteous on the ground.
Yeah,
so.
I appreciate that. You have never talked bad about anybody or any product.
I try really hard not to. And I actually got called out on this. I'm going to bring it up because I got
I
called out
wasn't
on
aware.
this. Gentlemen, I posted the video talking about air conception, and he posted on there and left a comment saying, well, Eric, I felt like you did the exact opposite. I came to your store, I was interested in one of your products, and I asked you about a different one. And it ended up being one of the products we're selling now.
Okay.
And he said that I was really discourteous about it. And we talked about it again. We actually met in person at Son of Fun. And I apologized to him. I said, I never want to be discourteous. I bring this up because I like full disclosure. I'm one of those people like, let's be transparent, right?
Good.
And he said, I felt like you were really rude about it. And then it turns out it was 3 years ago. And the motor that's over there, right there, is what he was looking at buying. And I was like, I'm sorry, but like in 3 years, the technology has moved to this.
Night and day difference.
And it's like, I understand that you felt offended. I feel really terrible because I never want to be that guy. Like I never, but I was to him, and I felt so bad. So if you're watching, dude, I'm sorry. but you know, it is a transitional thing, and sometimes we make mistakes. And I'm sure you have too.
Oh, of course.
But
None of
I
us are
brought it
perfect.
up because
Yeah,
I'm too
well,
transparent.
That's
maybe.
good. And
Anyway, thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I want, like I said, I respect the heck out of you guys and what you're doing and all the amazing marketing that you guys do to be able to promote the sport. And I want to be a part of that, man.
I think we have to dial into that. So you and I have had some conversations, and you've overheard some conversations. At the end of the day, the reason Aviator exists is because myself, Travis, all of our team have always had this fundamental belief that when you fly, it changes your life.
Yep.
It makes you a better person. So all of our marketing is driven toward the fact that, and all our growth, like our desire to train more people, our desire not to have a 3-year wait list, all the Alliance program, it was all like, if we are not helping people fly, we're hindering them. You know, we're hurting who they could be as a person. And like, the fact that we were talking before the live stream, Tyson, you have 40 plus students a year. You're here right now because you want to work with us, but you don't need us.
I don't.
You have 2 slots available this summer. And please, somebody on this live stream, if you live in Seattle or the Pacific Northwest, please go contact Tyson, sign up with him. I can guarantee you it'll be a good training. He has the exact perfect disposition. I've already offered him a job. All right, like the guy gets it. He really does, and truly, you
I
do.
appreciate
So
it, man.
I keep interrupting you, but
No, it's all good.
you got the basic idea. You're here because you want to be a part of what we're doing.
Yep.
We don't know what it's going to look like yet.
Yeah,
but I think we're going to do something together for sure.
for
And
sure.
We really need to go on some vacations, go do some flying together.
That would be amazing. We have not had a chance to fly together yet.
I know you keep flying my motor.
I know. I actually knowingly did my reservations for flying back home later than I knew that I needed to,
Nice,
for the hope to be able to go fly and just have fun. Fun flying, man.
dude.
That's
Fun
what it's
flying is the
about.
best, and I have about 40 different regular loops that I used to fly here, and that's one of the toughest things with Travis leaving, because
Yeah.
Kyle's working with him, and,
Yeah.
and I lost 2 instructors, so I'm back on the field. But in December, Travis and I pulled off the field. We were able to go out and help and advise, but we didn't have to be on the field to teach. And so I'm back on the field, which means anytime it's flyable, I don't get to fly.
Right.
But these loops that we have around here, that we're going to get, and I actually would like to have you help us. The class that we have 2 classes going on right now, side by side.
Yep.
And the class that started last week, they're ready for cross-country flights. So I want to get our instructor team to lead them on those flights while we get the other guys flying. Because that's one of the best things about buying your gear when you come to train, is you get the
Exactly.
opportunity to go and you don't have to worry that someone else is on the ground waiting for your equipment, right? It's completely freeing. And those loops, I've flown in, I can't remember how many countries, like 13 or 14 states, like flown all over the place. I've flown a lot of hours, and before Aviator school grew so much, I got to fly all the time. You know, you were telling me, how many flights did you have your first 2 years?
Around 650.
And how much time per flight?
Usually 45 minutes to an hour and 20, somewhere in that ballpark.
So this is
they're fair amount of time.
Yeah. So and that was in how many months a year are flyable in Seattle?
Technically year round. So basically, if there's a storm happening, we don't fly, but
Right.
it's pretty flyable the rest of the time.
Okay.
The winds, we don't have very strong winds there.
Really?
Yeah, only if it's stormy. So
I lived there for 3 months, but I was like in a basement working on a laptop the whole time, so I don't remember the weather very much.
Right. And we get the misconception that it's raining all the time, and it's not. It's dreary and overcast.
Yes,
a fair
it
amount
is.
Of the time.
I'm pretty sure that I had clinical depression, and that's not
Yeah,
making a joke of
it's-
clinical
it's-
depression.
it's
I
the real
felt
thing.
terrible.
Yeah.
Like I went back to Southern California, and I felt like I became a whole new person. I was like, oh my God, Laguna Beach, it's beautiful, you know.
One thing about it being kind of dreary and icky more often than not is when we do get those nice days, they're magical.
Oh yeah, you
And
value it so much
everybody
more.
comes out of the woodwork, and if you're a PPG pilot, it's like the phone's ringing off the hook, texts are coming through. All right, who's flying? Where are we going? What are we doing?
I'm part of the Michigan PPG group
Uh-huh.
on Facebook, and A, they have one of the most active groups. You should join.
Nice.
B, guys, I'm really sorry, but if you live in Michigan, you're doing life wrong, because like Like, what is it? Like 5 months? 5 months a year you can barely ever get in the sky unless it's -20. But guys, when it's flyable, these are the most passionate pilots. There's like, hey, I'm going to Holland. Who's going to meet me there? 13 people.
Wow.
I'll be there tonight. This is like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They're like, we'll be there at 6. And they're driving 2 hours to get there. It's so epic. Like, I love
That's
their
awesome.
enthusiasm so much. We get so spoiled here because it's flyable like 330 days a year.
Right.
So it's like, you know, I oftentimes choose to have breakfast with my kids instead of go fly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I would say I would choose that 80 to 90% of the time,
Sure.
if not more, because it's going to be flyable tomorrow.
Yeah,
you know.
makes
So
sense.
I think you guys get to value it way more.
We do. It ends up being special
That's
for sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't have a set list of questions like some of the other podcasts do, but I want to ask you 2 questions. One, favorite flight you can think of, the one that comes ahead right away. Where was it? What was happening? Why was it great?
Oshkosh last year.
That's not the answer I expected. Okay. Why?
I've heard about Oshkosh for years and years and years, and I've always wanted to go. Never been able to.
That's how I was.
Put it together, and it was just amazing. And all the people that I met, and the community, and everything else. And then Midwest Parajet.
Scott's such a good dude.
Scott, I was just talking with him. Scott,
Steve, right?
Yeah, Steve.
I
Reed.
love Steve.
Yeah,
One of my favorite flights of my life was with Steve.
nice.
Yeah.
Both amazing guys. Take the shirt off their back in a heartbeat. and give it
Literally.
to you. Yeah.
And actually to the point where it's a little creepy, like, please put your shirt back on.
And Scott is like, hey, you want to go fly? Because I didn't have my equipment with me.
Oh, man.
And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, go. And he didn't know me from Adam.
Really?
Yep. And I got my first flight in, and I was just amazed. So just being in that environment that I dreamed about for a long, long time. So
Yeah.
that was probably just the one that pops off in my head.
All right, give me one more.
All right.
I actually, let me tag on to yours. So
Okay.
Oshkosh is amazing. My first time flying paramotor there was incredible. It was actually terrible.
Huh.
I inflated the wing. I was flying an uncertified glider from an off-brand that had a lot of issues with tip deflations. And I dropped the entire wing, all the lines into the prop. They wrapped around the gearbox.
Ouch.
Got so locked in I had to dismantle the entire thing in front of the 5,000 people watching on whatever night it was.
Right.
So I'm like watching, I inflate, I run, and it just goes poof, poof. This is 7 years ago. The embarrassment level was over 9,000. But my next flight at Oshkosh was during the night show at the Ultralight Field, our first time flying there with Paradigm,
Right.
and being able to look across and see 10,000 airplanes and 500,000 people. And for me, I don't know what your back history was with aviation, but my parents still make fun of me because my bedroom, which was not a big bedroom, it was probably an eighth the size of the room we're in, right, was stacked to waist height at least with magazines. Kit planes, sport aviation,
Nice.
flying, plane and pilot, AOPA, like every single magazine you could think of. And I had thousands of issues.
Wow.
And you could pull one out, and I'd read it 5 times. And this is not an
Hey.
exaggeration. I realize I'm a storyteller. This is no exaggeration. I can tell you every article, every advertiser, like every single person.
Incredible.
I got offered a job for one of those magazines when I was 16 because I knew their magazines so well.
Sure.
Right? And I always read about the Red Barn.
Yep.
Right? I always read about the yodeling in the morning. And I fantasized about what Oshkosh would be like. But my family traveled 6 months a year in the summer selling books to homeschoolers.
Okay.
So I never had the opportunity. I went to Sun and Fun. This year was my 25th Sun and Fun.
Wow.
Right? I'm 33 years old. Didn't miss many.
No.
Okay? But I never made it to an Oshkosh until 7 years ago. And it was such a transformative experience to be able to go in, and I'll never forget. I'm sitting there on a campfire. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Everyone's like, all right, we got to go to bed. So we go to bed. 7 a.m., the yodeler comes on. Yod! I'm not going to do it. Sorry, guys. I promise not to do it. But it was, I woke up with the biggest smile on my face, in a tent under the trees in the antique parking area.
cool.
And it was so cool. And, yeah, going to Oshkosh and flying there.
Yeah.
That year, I took off one of the times I actually got to fly, and I think it wasn't an A380, it was an A340 or something, A350, is landing next to me. And you know that turn on base?
Yes.
Where you're literally like 180 yards at most from the main runway, from
right
3.6. It's like... it's so scary. So... that's a good one. All right, another flight. Give me another one.
All right. Well, real quick, I want to add to Oshkosh is I liked it so much that I'm taking the whole month of July off, taking my 19-year-old daughter in travel trailer and going and having a blast.
I love it.
So, yeah. So that's how much it meant to me because I was only there for 3 days before. And so I'm like, I'm going to take the whole month off. We're going to fly paramotors on the way there. And then during, and then on the way back as well. So just making a whole month out of it.
That's amazing. How big is your travel trailer?
It's 33 foot. And then it's got a little toy hauler garage.
I asked this because we're selling the Paradigm trailer and the Paradigm truck this year. If it was in the market for a 2017 F350 dually with 17,000 miles on it, a beautiful Forest River XLR, 45 foot and a half, that has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms.
It's humongous.
It is actually an insult to a manhood. It is so big. You feel like you've done something wrong. We bought this with the expectation we'd have a sponsor. Without picking up a sponsor this year, we're only doing 3 air shows, so it'll be used 3 times. And so we decided to sell it. So if anyone's interested in the most beautiful, I hesitate to use the language, but it's actually in the Bible, badass.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Well, at least the second part is in the Bible.
Oh, okay.
It's beautiful. It's fantastic. It will be listed next week. So the Paradigm trailer is up for sale. So we're looking for lodging for Oshkosh for like 24 people.
Wow.
Not really.
Just a couple.
It's not that many, but it feels like that. I'm gonna actually stop the conversation for a moment because we just got called out. Someone said we were chit-chatting too much, that we have questions.
Uh-oh.
So let's go back and forth and answer some questions.
All right.
It is called Ask Aviator. I'm sorry. I really am sorry. I like to get the guests to talk about things because I'm intrigued. Like, I know Tyson a good bit. Not great, but I know his heart. I know his passions. I know why he does this. So, yeah. Suddenfashion.com. He'll be here August 10th. For class. What happens if weather only allows for 5 flights in 15 days? So in the last 7 years of running this business, 7 years in November, I had one class, where the weather was so bad. In 18 days, we had 2 flyable windows.
Ouch.
18 days. 2 flyable windows. 2 flights per student. That was it. Now, mind you, we're way more efficient now, and you saw that today.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things that Tyson and I were talking about, because I was towing today, was that we're constantly working on finding ways to be more efficient. So towing generally is a 2.5-hour procedure for 6 students. We're going to 8 students. We're adding more instructors. We're doubling our winches, doubling our simulators, so we can be more efficient, maximize time, add into the UTV so we can tow the line back. Everything's give and take. And so we can generally knock out, tonight we had 6 students tow. I think we did around 21 or 22 tows.
Sounds
tonight.
about right.
In an hour and 25-minute window.
Super short window.
So we're going to double the number of
That's awesome.
everything. And we're constantly working on ways to get more efficient. So Tyson and I were talking about this because as the guys were, that's so creepy. As the guys were, by the way, for those on the podcast, he just put a foam head on the table. And Catherine opened that today. And so we're in the war room right now, right? She goes to my office about 30 yards away. And she comes to my office crying nearly. She's like, "Why would you do this to me?" And she opens the Amazon box with this foam head in it. She's like, "This is my worst nightmare. Why would you do this to me?"
That is funny.
So Tyson and I are talking on the field, and it was right after I gave some instructions to their instructor. She's like, "Listen, instead of having them unclip from the wing, as you're running them back for the next tow, make them stay clipped in because it saves 40 seconds." 40 seconds doesn't sound like much, but when you're trying to be the most efficient possible, and tonight we got cut short because the wind picked up. Right. We couldn't start until later because the wind was too high. It was a very small window, very finite. I'm sure you experienced the same thing in your school where
Yeah.
you're trying to find more efficiency. Give me an example of something you've done that's more efficient.
Being able to be flexible. So
Okay.
there's certain days that it might not be the best weather to where I have a schedule set out to where I can move that day to another spot
Okay.
and switch it around. Can't do that so much on the flying days towards the end, but on the other days I can do that. So that's
Absolutely.
made me more efficient to where we end up doing more valuable things more often.
I'll never forget Eric DeFore when we first partnered with him. He came for a training, and it was foggy, and it was no wind, like zero wind. The fog was at like 200 feet, so it was too low to fly students. It was zero wind. The ground's so wet. One step in it, your feet are soaked. Like, it was one of those days. So the instructors team, including myself, we're like, all right, students, we're going to show you some demo flying. It's going to be fun.
There you go.
And Eric grabs my arm, and he does his full French-Canadian thing. Eric, no. Sorry. He says, we will teach him how to untangle the glider. Eric, I'm sorry. It's a terrible French-Canadian accent. Don't be offended. So we spent an hour tangling 6 gliders
Right on.
and having them untangle them. And it taught... It's one of those things where when you're in this business, and you know this after 19 years, you want to fly when it's a possibility for you to fly because you haven't gotten to, perhaps, you haven't had the opportunity to in 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
Especially because we used to do back-to-back classes. We wouldn't get to fly for so long unless it was terrible conditions. And for us, zero wind and 200-foot ceiling is playtime, right?
Right.
But Eric really helped us redefine and focus. Like, listen, you can teach them how to untangle the glider. You can teach them how to retorque a cylinder. You can teach them how to attach a prop. Like, never, ever, ever
Waste a moment.
waste a moment.
Yep.
Which brings me to Tony Marzano's question from 30 minutes ago. During your training, do you cover any maintenance or anything to do with the motor, or is it all flying? Scroll up. I lost it. Or do you offer another course of engine repair or something like that? Tony, we have anywhere from 65 to 240-minute class on engine maintenance, motor maintenance. And in fact, the gentleman who's teaching it right now is to my right. I'll bring him in here shortly because I really have some exciting news to share about Aviator, and I want to share it with him here. So I'll bring him in here shortly. We teach engine maintenance because it's very important, especially with Viterazzi's motors, because one of the things I love about Viterazzi, which we didn't have before, was they have a very clear and concise plan. Their manual is incredible. Their videos are fantastic.
Yep.
They have their 100-hour kit. You know exactly what to expect to have to replace, what might fail. They know exactly how many hours every crankcase is good for. Based upon the law of large numbers, they're collecting all this data. They've really dialed it in to a point where it has a lot of benefits for everyone. So, yes, we teach it. There's always more to learn. We do have a certified AMP, aircraft and power plant mechanic, on staff who is not just an aircraft and power plant mechanic. Alex is I can't say he's the most overqualified person that works here because like all of them are. Hi, John and Nina. But he's insanely talented. Like he builds any kind of resto mod car you can think of. Like when you see his bug, he has a 1969 or 70 Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah.
That is so freaking sick.
Nice.
He's torn down his old airplane, cleaned it up, repainted it, sold it for way more money. Like the guy is so talented, and he knows two-stroke motors. He has a company that is called Extreme Mobility Concepts that builds ramps and lifts for handicapped people.
Okay.
He had a guy who wanted, is a buddy of his, I guess, who wanted to have a truck that looked cool as hell. So he put it on bags. So it was like this tall or on the ground.
Wow.
And it has a ramp that comes out so he can drive his chair off of it. His chair then drives directly to the sand. He's the first ever wheelchair accessible beach utility vehicle that can go into a truck that looks badass. It's not something that's like, oh, look, you're driving your wheelchair van. No, this guy is a cool dude, and he dials it.
That's awesome.
Get back to the paramotor. Sorry. All right. What's the chance of a motor being released with the power of a Moster but the weight of an Atom 80? I can't see who said that. Sandor. I don't see it happening. The biggest issue is this. So, for instance, the Nitro 200 is very similar in weight to the Atom.
Yep.
It puts out about at the Palm Bay foot drag or Palm Bay fly-in this last week. It put out about. Did you see the numbers, Ross?
I remember when mine was on there, but not.
What were your numbers on yours?
It was 139.7.
139.7. So someone this week or this past month, I believe it was 117 or 119. Maybe I'm a smaller prop.
Yeah.
On the nitro.
Oh, really?
The Atom came in around 112. So and the Mosters were anywhere from 140 to 170, if I recall correctly. Again, this is don't quote me. This is a thrust table, guys. Thrust tables are deceiving. I believe in them as a way to be able to measure. I don't think they measure accurate thrust. One of the things that Technify did that was really brilliant was they built a machine that measured horsepower, not thrust. Still, Christoph's a genius. He's an amazing guy. But it does give you a broad spectrum of what your expectations can be based upon tuning, prop size, etc.
Yeah.
Like the top 80 with the 140 centimeter prop did really well.
Yeah.
Like really freaking well. So the Atom right now, we're putting students up to 220 pounds on it for training, up to 235 if they're a pilot already, and we're selling it to them up to 195.
Nice.
Because it puts out all the power you need.
Yeah.
The issue as far as creating a motor, like if Vitarazi were to make a motor like the Atom that has the Vitarazi Moster thrust, it would weigh way more because they really value smoothness. And where a lot of the other companies, or at least one of them or two of them, two that come to mind, they want power and they don't counterbalance, so they have a lot of issues with exhausts, crankcases, like a lot of issues across the board. Yeah, so counterbalancing is really important.
No.
Scott Zastupil, I really want to learn how to read your name now. Have you guys successfully connected the Invola Bluetooth headset with an Encina via universal intercom? I have. It's been a while. It has been done. I haven't. I got rid of all my Encina helmets the moment I got my new helmet.
Which are very sweet, by the way.
Have you
Good
flown
job.
with one?
I've tried it on, but I haven't flown with one yet. But just the fit and finish and the quality are
Dude,
incredible.
Mine's on the shelf. Use it.
Right on. Thanks,
Seriously, and you have to listen to music
man. Okay.
because the bass is so sick.
Nice.
It's like, yeah. Sam says, will Aviator PPG do a big PPG fly-in sometime, a Lake Wales event? Potentially. We have new airport management here, and quite frankly, one of the challenges that we had is that our fly-ins grew too large.
It's not a bad problem to have sometimes.
It is, though. I think even though we have a lot of space, people don't want to spread out. And so, like, Endless Foot Drag has nearly 200 pilots registered. We had 205, I think, at our last Wings Over Winter. And it just, I saw 3 near collisions. And not from pilot error necessarily, just because there's just too many people. So it was people launching with someone landing right behind them. And we laid out the field properly. We did everything we possibly could to try to mitigate, but it's just a lot.
Sure.
So if we have a fly-in, it won't be a big one. This year we had a student meetup. We didn't have an event. We had people that said, listen, if you trained at Aviator, one of our alliances, you want to come down and hang out.
That's great.
We still had like 60 pilots. So as the sport grows, it's gonna require smaller events because unless it's an expo where people aren't flying, it's just too many people in the air without an air traffic controller. You know, at Flight Fest South we had paramotors, RC airplanes, Coast Guard, and we literally brought a FAA certified air boss who's a Marine air traffic controller in to manage it, and it was hard. It's a lot. It's just it's a lot going on, and safety has to be first. As much as I want to hang out, you know, like fly-ins are really fun. What fly-ins do you go to aside from Oshkosh?
I've been to Salton Sea, Glamis right after that, which is just kind of in between,
right?
And then the Arizona Flying Circus just did that.
How was that? Mo seems like the most interesting human on the earth.
He's really cool, and he puts on a really good fly-in. So if you guys ever have a chance to go check it out and do that circuit, it's really amazing. I ended up doing 5 weeks total.
Oh, wow.
Between those 3 to where I spent like probably 3 weeks total at Salton Sea, and then a week and a half at the Glamis Sand Dunes. And then the weekend at Moe's, and just had an absolute blast.
I have so many questions to answer, but I have stories to tell too. My first time and only time to Salton Sea.
Yeah.
I was on a mini plane top 80, Velocity Electra, and Matt Minyard's stepbrother, half brother, brought a film crew out. They had a big jib on top of a RV. Fantastic videos, by the way. Beautiful.
Nice.
This is 6 years ago. So I'm hotshot pilot. I go for a water foot drag, and the motor bogs. And it had some tuning issues, and we knew that. But I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Guys, the Salton Sea is a salinic lake that smells like death. Apparently it doesn't smell as bad anymore.
It wasn't that bad, actually.
I wanted to die every day that I was there.
Wow.
A, I hate dust.
Yeah.
And B,
dusty.
it literally made you want to vomit every time you left the RV. It was so bad back then. There was thousands, I would say in a 100-foot span, there was 1,000 dead fish.
Wow.
And that's not an exaggeration at all. Like it was stacked 3 feet into the water and 20 feet on land.
Huh.
Just dead fish, dead and decaying fish.
I didn't see one dead fish the whole time I was down there.
Awful. It was awful at the time. So I am water foot dragging, and I'm like coming to the camera. I'm like, it's beautiful. I'm rocking it. I am right in the middle of intermediate syndrome where everything's like I'm doing all the wrong things because I'm just cocky.
Right.
Motor had never flown before. No flotation.
Oh boy.
I'm on the edge of a little pond on the side of the lake, and I zoom in. It's great. It's great. It's great. I'm right at the camera. He's got a big boom, so I know he's going to go over me or under me. It's going to be sick. But it goes, blah, blah, blah. So now
Splash.
I'm running in water up to my knees almost.
Oh,
It was like maybe almost knee. It's like right there.
Right.
And I'm wearing jeans and a pair of gray and blue Adidas. God rest their soul. And I got it out. I got back on land, ran it out, got back off the ground, flew home with the cone of shame, and I landed and I walked back to the campfire, and I got the motor on my back. I'm carrying the wing. I walk up, I set the wing down, and the guys are like, "What the happened? Burn everything you're wearing." I can't do this like without cursing.
Oh my
like burn
gosh.
everything you're wearing. It's so terrible. Please burn it all. So I literally poured gallons of water down my pants to try to get the smell off because I didn't have enough jeans. I live in Florida. I don't have jeans.
Yeah.
And I threw away my shoes.
Oh
it
my
was that
gosh.
bad.
Yeah, it's I've heard it's like 50% saltier than the ocean. So it's and then all the other stuff that's in there. And, yeah.
But a beautiful place to fly.
That's what I was just gonna say. And not only right on the shoreline, but going inland. Through
all the canyons. And stuff. Oh, it's amazing.
Incredible.
Some of the best flying I've ever done.
Yeah.
Some great
it's
times with good
really
friends.
Beautiful. That was gonna be actually my second one.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mike Cotter question says they're wondering if the Vitarazi 185 factory is worth the additional pricing from the MY19. So, have you flown a factory?
I have not.
Okay. So the biggest difference between the factory and the non-factory is it's a CNC'd case instead of a cast case. In talking to Matteo Orazzi and his brother at Vitarazi, they basically state that it's a really cool feature. It reduces vibration significantly, which should extend the life of the motor.
Nice.
For me personally, not worth the extra $1,000.
Right.
Does not improve output. Does not improve anything else. Is it baller? Yeah, it's really pretty.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah, but I wouldn't do it.
It is a few pounds lighter, so if somebody
Is it that much?
It's I believe so.
Okay.
So if somebody really wanted to shave,
No, without the titanium exhaust. With the steel exhaust, is it lighter?
That's true.
Because they're not really selling it with the titanium exhaust anymore.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Because it cracks like crazy.
Yeah,
Because
so
titanium,
you may be right. There
air
are
conception
other
had the same
titanium
issue.
parts on it, but
Right.
probably not enough to make a huge difference.
Air conception had the same issue. We had a 130 with a titanium exhaust that we re-welded the exhaust in the same place so many times. We just finally stopped, and it still flew great. We had 1,200 hours on this motor when it was sold.
1,200 hours?
It's still flying.
No way.
And it's on its 5th top end.
Wow.
Thing keeps flying. Like some motors are just like unicorns. The thing was, it was a 130. It was fantastic.
Nice.
Emilio asked, do you feel like free flight is inherently more dangerous?
In strong conditions, yes. They both have their uniqueness with them, and that's why they complement each other so much. Is you can pick and choose. Like you could go for a morning flight with paramotor,
Right.
that you wouldn't be able to free flying, typically unless you want a sled ride. And then midday, go get your thermal flying and ridge flying in, and then you come back and paramotor. And it's magical to be able to do both. So I got into it about 6 months
After you started flying
after I started flying motors. So that was a nice addition.
I tell people it this way. I have broken my back paramotoring. I was flying a very small Acura wing in gear that did not work for me. I have a lot of friends in paragliding. In fact, most of my friends in paragliding have broken their back. Most of my friends in paramotoring haven't. The biggest difference is that they're flying in thermic conditions.
Yep.
A lot of them broke their back on reserve throws, throwing it too small of a reserve. I have very few friends that are excellent paraglider pilots that haven't damaged their body. And most of them are very competitive people. They're doing competitions. They're pushing. It's really as safe as you make it. If you're flying safe conditions, you're not pushing things. Like when we teach thermal clinics here, we don't teach at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We teach at 10:30 in the morning. Right. It's all about mitigating risk by making better decisions. So I think they both have inherent risk. I think that paragliding may have more because to get the conditions you want in order to have flying flights that last, you push things more naturally because everyone does.
Right.
It's the same thing. You go to a paramotor fly-in, and it's blowing 16 miles an hour. This happened at Palm Bay 3 weeks ago, a month ago now. It was blowing on wind alert 16 gust 22, and there are 40 pilots in the air. 2 of whom were my past students.
Right.
Who, when they landed, I was like, "What are you doing? Like, I'm not going to fly in that."
Yeah.
Just because everyone else can fly in it. Like, can I fly in it? Yes, we flew it at Sun and Fun in terrible conditions, worse conditions. But I'm not going to choose to fly with a whole bunch of other people just because groupthink says it's safe. It may be safe, but it was unpleasant.
Yeah.
Why would you do something unpleasant because everyone else is doing it? It's totally what my parents told me about drugs. You know?
My thought process is leave yourself a cushion.
Huge cushion.
Don't go right to the very edge of
Agreed.
whatever you're doing because that cushion could save your butt sometime.
Absolutely. And that's, we actually talked about it this week in class. I am a huge believer in the fact that when you get comfortable, it's where you get hurt.
Yep.
I
Complacency.
can't remember what day it was. I think it was October 7th in 2017. I was flying a Viper 4. I was doing a rodeo with Kyle. We go up into a big donut in the sky with smoke. Then he come across the center of it. I come at him. He'd go into a deep sat, smoke on. I go into a deep spiral, trimmed all the way out, spiraling around him. Practicing for paradigm. We did this every day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. You know, we were practicing all conditions. Everything's great. And it's dialed. Dude, we called it the candy cane. Because it looks like a candy cane with the spirals.
Right.
It looks so sick. And we're like, we're going to do this at Sun and Fun. We're going to do this at Oshkosh. It's going to blow people's mind, right? You're doing the sat on a 15 free ride is like, and then I'm around him going,
Wow.
6 feet off his wing. It was amazing. And 2 days before, I got a new motor. And I was waiting for my reserve to arrive. And I didn't think twice. I didn't think twice about the fact that I'm about to go up and do aerobatics with another pilot. I was like, oh, I don't have a reserve. I'll be extra careful. Make our donut. Kyle comes across, kicks in the sat. I was out of position, whether he kicked early or I was late coming in. I was out of position, so instead of going around his initial smoke, I went across it, trimmed all the way out.
Oh. Yeah.
And I was out of practice. I blipped throttle twice. I made so many mistakes. I had cascading collapses for about 500 feet. And I'm reaching for my reserve. And I don't have one. And I'm like, I don't have a reserve. And you see your life flash before your eyes. And you sit there and go, if this is how I die, it's because I was an idiot. But it wasn't because I was an idiot. It was because I was comfortable. Because I was doing something I'd done so many times and I had so much confidence in it was easy.
Yep.
All right. Rule of the day, moral of the story, don't do stuff when you're comfortable. Now, because of my experience, when I'm comfortable, I take a step back.
There you go.
And either don't fly that day or I change my mission profile completely. Like, I'm not going to go up there and chase Kyle through the sky doing a freaking... I'm going to go up there And I'm going to fly careful and cautious and be wise because I want to go see my kids and my wife.
Yeah.
It's not worth it to be
Yep.
a headline.
And listen to your gut as well, because
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times that my gut said, today's not the best day either in your mind or conditions or whatever it is. And then I went and did it anyways. And those were the times that I wish I wouldn't have went and gone, because either I just wasn't right in my mind and made it worse than it actually was or whatever. And so, yeah, don't be afraid to go out to a field and you're planning on flying. It's like, no, today's not the day, because you might not get that chance again.
Yeah. I have 3 stories associated with that. Story 1 is my only accident in a paramotor.
Okay.
My wife told me when I stopped by our house before I went to the hospital that she almost told me that she wanted me to fly. Story 2 is that early on in Aviator's history, when we had perfect weather for a week, and the students had never had to call it. Students had great experiences. Everything's perfect. We go out to the field, and it might be blowing 3 miles an hour, not a cloud within 5 miles. Everything's great. And we call it.
Really?
Just so they have the experience of knowing that sometimes you have to say no.
Nice.
The third story, we had a student have a hard landing this week.
Yep.
That's what we're calling it. And he felt, before he took off, like he shouldn't have done it.
Yep.
And I think it's so important for all of us to have that opportunity to check ourselves. And we talk about it in class. You've heard it this week.
Oh, yeah.
You're about to hear it again. When we do safety class in 2 days, you'll hear it in spades. The last thing you pre-flight is what's between your ears.
Exactly.
If you are not 100% confident, don't do it.
Yep.
It was especially when it's balanced, like when it's questionable. Like our Sun and Fun show is like, it's blowing 22 miles an hour. It's 12 gust 22. Are we going to fly? And it was like, we asked all of us, is everyone on board? We're not flying acro profile. We're going to fly formation. We're going to do like a little thing, and that's it.
Right.
Good. Everyone else around us, the support staff, the pylon crew, is everyone good? Does anyone have a catch in their spirit about it? Because it doesn't matter what your religious views are. Most people believe that there's something bigger than ourselves that's speaking to us, right?
Yeah.
It's a big deal. Hancockinator asked something, Hancock, whatever the guy's name was. I can't remember what it was. Hitchcock asked if I really believe in the glasses that I sold that help people play video games better. Do I think they help you play video games better? No. Do I still wear them every time I'm staring at a screen and I'm actually missing them right now? Yes. I have a pair beside my bed. I have a pair on my desk. I literally have not stopped wearing gunner glasses, Gunnar. I have not stopped wearing them in almost a decade of use.
Wow.
If you stare at a screen ever, I'm not getting paid for this, by the way. They paid me one time to be a photographer for them. I am a believer. I don't wear glasses. I have 2010 vision. 2010, 2015. Full transparency. I believe in them so much that I can't encourage you enough. If you look at a screen for a living, buy some gunners. They'll change your life. I used to go home, my eyes weeping every night. I literally still, out of habit, have Visine in my pocket because I'm always afraid of having dry eyes.
Wow.
Gunners, keep your eyes wet. Fantastic. Rick Owen, best budget paramotor considering all the new models that have been released. Anything new that has blown you away in terms of value for the dollar, or do you continue to have the same recommendations for a previously released model that you consider the gold standard? I'll answer this quickly. There is no such thing as a great budget paramotor. There are lots of budget paramotors out there. Find an instructor who you trust with your life, your time, and your money, and find out what they recommend for your personal needs. We generally try not to sell to students until after they finish training, period. Is that what you guys do?
For the most part, yeah.
We try really hard. Like, we have people who are like, I have to have mine right now, and I totally respect that.
Yep. In fact, that's our class, some of those people in it, because they've got some adventures that they need to get that
Yeah,
time
the class
in.
right now.
Yeah,
exactly. They had to have their motors beforehand because they're about to go to Mexico with Ross. It's going to be a must.
Yep.
I made a mistake. Sorry. So generally, the recommendation is simply this. You can buy a budget paramotor. You can buy a used paramotor. You can buy something that you get off eBay. And all of our students, of the ones that bought gear before they came, less than 3% have kept it.
Yep.
It's either buy right or buy twice. There are lots of great used deals out there, and you might find something that's in good condition.
They're rare.
It's rare.
Yeah.
Most people don't know how to maintain. They don't know how to break in, and
Yeah.
you're buying a bomb. I just had a friend buy an RV that was in great condition that had a small issue with the motor. $20,000 later, he's going to have a new RV.
Ouch.
Yeah, because it needs a whole new motor.
Yeah.
It's the same idea. You get
Yep.
people who don't have the experience. They don't have. Anyway, so
Yeah.
as far as budget units, we picked up Fly Products because it is less expensive. This is the Fly Products Eclipse. If you want the newest, latest, greatest, lightest, this is a 38-pound unit that
nice.
flies incredible. You flew it yesterday.
I did.
How'd you
yeah.
like it?
I liked it. I really liked
What'd you like
the,
about it?
So I could feel a little bit of a weight difference. The biggest thing that struck me, though, was the harness. The harness is so lightweight.
Did it
And
feel
it's-
comfortable?
It's pretty comfortable. I would say.
It's sparse. It's my
Y-
opinion is it's sparse.
exactly.
If you're going to do like a 3-hour cross country, you want the rider harness.
Right.
Which you can put a rider harness on there with some modification.
Nice. But overall, really good machine.
Okay, good to
And
hear.
it's got the Vitarazi on it, which I, as of right now, don't touch anything else.
You have to fly the Atom one.
Yeah.
The Atom on the Eclipse is like crack cocaine.
If I could get it back from Caleb, I would.
How many hours has Caleb flown? Do you know? As of
Last
this morning,
time I saw on the board, it was like 20 hours or something.
it was. I think it's 50
ridiculous.
flights in 8.5 hours.
Yeah,
I think is what it is.
Just,
He's been here for 9 days.
He's paying a gas surcharge.
yeah,
Ross
yeah.
says he's paying a gas surcharge. I feel like he probably actually
He put
should.
like 2 hours in the tank for tonight, and he landed on fumes.
All right, Sam asked Tyson, what is the best time to fly in the Northwest? What dates do you recommend to train?
Good question. So actually, you can fly year-round, and I will say that the best flights that I've had are actually during the winter time.
Really?
And it is when the sky is crystal blue clear and zero wind,
Kabu.
zero thermals, and you can go anywhere and do anything without any worry about rotor or thermic activity, and it's just magical. Best months to train would probably be May and June. Less chance of rain and weather issues coming in, but not warm enough to have it uncomfortable.
Excellent. Well, I have to come visit
Yes,
because I've seen videos
anytime.
of where you fly.
It's amazing.
One of our past students, Nick Kinnan, who's one of my favorite people, just showed up in your area. He has one of the most beautiful hearts for flying.
Nice.
He went through foot launch training, came back for wheel launch training. I'm going to connect you guys.
Yeah,
because
please.
Nick is a former Microsoft engineer, and he's really let this change his life.
Cool.
And it's not been easy. He's had more struggles than almost anybody else could have had, but he's overcome them. And
Good.
I'm really proud of who he is as a person. And he flies there, and he's like, well, there's a lot of trees.
Yeah.
But what a beautiful place to fly. You guys have Mount Hood right there, and it's like, oh.
Mount Rainier
Mount Hood-
and
yeah. Mount Rainier, not Hood.
the
Hood's Portland. Okay.
Yeah. The Olympic Mountains.
Right.
We're less than 2 hours to the Pacific Ocean, so we've got that beautiful coastline. And then the big thing that we get to do is the Puget Sound, which is thousands of miles of coastline, and it's on a tide system. So when that tide is down, we have unlimited places to land, and it's just gorgeous. So, yeah, come anytime. We got a place for you to stay. We have
I'm in.
lodging at our school.
Do you?
Yep.
Okay, you out to us there. We're working on lodging. We had lodging,
Right.
and then
Yeah,
all of our new
kinda,
employees live
yeah.
there.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for having me on, man. I really appreciate
Dude,
it. Thanks for
for
having
being
me
here.
down. It's
Seriously.
been a blast, and looking forward to the future days and future months and years.
It's a joy to watch the way your brain works.
Right on.
The way you watch students, it's inspiring for me because I've learned from a lot of the best instructors, and I've followed them because I feel like I always have so much more to learn. I had a
Same here,
student
man.
coming in November email me today. He's like, is there any way I could have you on radio for my first flight? And I said, well, A, I really want to be with my family if I can, and B, the people who you're going to have on radio are better than me. And like that'll probably be you.
Right on,
You know,
man.
and that's a really cool thing. I think that as we all grow as a sport, there's endless opportunity to recognize that there's not one person that's best.
Nope.
I'm not the best. You're not the
Me
best.
neither. Nope.
But we can grow together and we can learn from each other, and that's what this show's about. That's what our
Yes.
business is about. It's about having no ego and being stoked.
That's why I wanted to come down here, because I love our community, and I love the sport, and I love sharing it. And the more of us that can get on board on the same page and do the very best that we can for everybody and anybody in it, it's a win-win across.
Yeah,
So,
it really is.
all right.
So I have 2 questions for you left.
Okay.
First one's from Kevin Can Fly. I'm going to ask you to answer this carefully because you're probably going to change your prices tomorrow. I'm in Portland and went to paramotor. What's the cost of training? Here it's $3,500. All of our Alliance schools are $3,500. We
Right.
include all the gear. We include 15 days of training, up to 15 flight, or at least 15 flights on our gear. I didn't really answer the gentleman who asked what happened in if we only had 5 flights in 15 days. The answer is that if you have 15 days that you're here, and we only have 5 flights. We're gonna have you back.
Exactly.
We haven't put it on the website yet, but we're basically a satisfaction guaranteed kind of place, and we want to make sure that you leave here extraordinarily, overwhelmingly happy with your experience. So we are always going to work for you. I know you're the same way.
Same way.
So that's what we charge. What is your school charge now?
So with all the equipment is $3,000.
Okay.
And then if you pre-purchase the gear and then learn on it and get comfortable and familiar with it, then we're at $2,500.
I'm going to talk you out of that because it's way too complicated and it pushes people to buy gear ahead of time.
Yeah.
Here's why.
Well,
I'll share
I've seen some differences here. I love learning and adapting. So yeah,
I'll share why, because what we found was when you incentivize people to buy first, some people will spend $15,000 and discover the sport's not right for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 1%.
Yeah, it's very small.
But you know what you did to the 1%? You screwed them over.
Yeah.
That's why we stopped doing it.
Sure.
It's like, we're going to be same price across the board. We're going to encourage you to buy your gear after you get your first few flights in, if you want to. We're never going to pressure you.
Yep.
And we're going to allow you to make the decision if this is right for you. This class, we had a gentleman, got 2 flights, says, you know what? I'm not enthused. He's the first one in a year and a half. So that's like 120 students, right?
All right.
And he's just like, you know what? It's not for me. And if he spent $15,000, would he have stayed in the sport, not loved it?
Maybe gotten hurt.
Maybe got hurt.
Yeah.
Maybe made a bad decision.
Yeah.
Maybe pushed himself. We would rather ensure that people have the best experience possible. And
Sure.
you still get those guys who call you and they're like, I want to train and I want all my gear waiting for me there. I want to never share gear with anybody.
Right.
I don't want to have to wait for anything. And dude, if you were like 1,000% convinced,
Yeah.
hats off to you. I love you. Thank you. My kids get to eat this month. They're
Right,
happy.
right.
So it's a win-win. Skylar C22, do you guys, talking to you, Tyson,
Okay.
ever plan out Rainier, St. Helens, Adams, XC camping trips? If I can find the time, it's on my annual bucket list.
So funny you asked that because we are actually in the process of forming to be able to do that. And we want to actually do adventures locally in the Northwest.
We're doing the same thing all over the world. That's our
Nice.
goal too.
Awesome.
Let's do one together because I want to fly up there.
Yes, totally. In fact, I was just talking to Travis and Kyle, and they're doing the same thing. And I invited them up. It's like,
Nice.
come and fly and hang out. Bring your crew with you, whoever you got, and we'll help out any way that we can. So yeah, and once again, it goes back to the community
100%.
and making the sport even more amazing than it already is. Miro from Scout, he's
Yep.
putting those together, and
I love what he's doing.
I know every time that I see pictures and video of that, I'm just like, oh, I so want to be there. So I
get
want to bring
tweaked.
that to over here to the U.S. and I think I think that's the next big thing.
I agree. I think that as we build adventures, and that's one of the things we have our back office team with Nina and John and Annette's been helping. We've got some incredible people who are
Yeah, you
event
do.
planners, and they've been looking. John came to me last week. He's like, listen, I have this great idea. And I was like, I'm sorry, I've already done it. And we did this. We did a free flight training camp in North Carolina a few years ago, and it was amazing. It was incredible. We broke even on it. Nobody made money. We got to have a great vacation out of it. Everyone got to fly. Actually, no, everyone got to fly because the weather was terrible. But everyone got to have a great experience. We had a lot of bonfires, yoga on the patio. It was fantastic. Dance classes.
Still had fun.
We had a great time. So trying to create an all-inclusive experience that gets pilots to become better pilots and to push themselves.
Yep.
It's this constant evolution of becoming better humans for who we are. So I love that you're doing it.
Right on.
I wanna
Thanks,
go.
man. You too. Ditto.
All right. Phobio2101 asks, I'm sorry, I had to read Ross Gassaway's. Eric doesn't always make you call him God? I'm so confused. Phobio2101 says, does the Paradigm team do birthday parties? We only do birthday parties for Travis in front of 6,000 people. That's the requirement. You have to have 6,000 people sing him happy birthday. All right. Mark Donor says, maybe split the show in 2 parts, half for this cool chit-chat and half for questions, or maybe do some Aviator crew answering some questions in the background. I think answering questions in the background is a great idea, Mark. We will have our team start to answer questions via text to help you out a little bit. Does that sound good to you guys back there? Parker's on it, guys.
Nice.
Parker is part of the Aviator crew. Parker is one of the instructors at Lone Star Paramotor. Ron was just here. He's fantastic. And actually, Sandor brings up a really great point. We need Paradigm lights, ring lights. We need to put together kits. Let's work on that this week.
We can do that. Bringing Ross on.
I'm bringing Ross on. I'm going to go ahead and say goodnight to you, my friend, because I'm tired. It's really late, and I got to get this done.
All right. Thanks again, buddy.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
All right, we're going to give away some stuff. Hang on, before you leave fully, I want you to pick out who's winning something. Just scroll and pick. Ready? Pick. Who's winning?
Crystal Gale.
Crystal
Crazy
Gale.
guy.
You're winning something. We have a shirt, a hat, a mug, and a thermos. Okay. Crystal, email info@aviator.
I already have her address.
Oh, she wants a hat.
Nice.
Dude, Crystal, you're on it. So you're going to get a hat and email info@aviatorppg.com, and we will send you a free hat. Please,
Very
anyone
nice.
else who wants to win something, share this video right now. Let us know that you shared down below. I'm going to give away 2 more items. I'm going to have Ross pick right now. Thank you very much, my friend. Tyson, thanks for being on.
Thank you.
I surprised him with this about 3 minutes before we went live.
Yeah. No, it was great. I'm glad to do it.
Sorry about that.
All right.
All right, Ross.
Yeah.
Punk ass.
Sorry, I had to leave for a while. I had to go take a shower. I haven't taken one in 2 days, so I think you'd
You-
like me a little closer now.
You're wearing the same shirt, though.
I was being consistent.
All right, let's scroll down really quick, guys. This is Ross Gassaway. Ross is the professional sidekick. You've seen him on the show before, but now he has become much more, and I will share that with you very soon. Ross is going on a trip, Parker. We'll share more about that in a moment. This show has gotten really long. We're 11 minutes behind on comments. Can we scroll down to the bottom, Nina? You have to refresh. Dun,
That's
dun,
the end.
dun. All right, I'm going to ask if John can see comments. Can we pick someone from those comments that has shared the post that wants to win something? We'll pick something. I'll let John behind the camera tell us who's winning. No pressure, John.
HJ Aviation.
HJ Aviation. I don't know why their name is HJ Aviation, but HJ Aviation, you won something. You decide what you want to win. Would you like to have a mug, a shirt, or a thermos? You decide, and email info@aviatorppg.com. We will take care of you. Let us know what you want. I think you have to close the program, Nina. Sorry. I know, it's a bummer. All
One
right,
more
so
time.
let me, while we're reloading comments, Ross, how old are you?
52 now.
52, which makes you the oldest member.
Thank you for letting me know that.
Todd with Resurgence PPG said, I'm not sure the sport is for me. Can you help me sell my gear?
Todd at Resurgence says the sport is not for him. Can I help him sell his gear for a small commission fee, or we'll be happy to buy back your gear if you have a pair of Jet or Fly products. We'll buy it back just like CarMax. We'll take care of you. That said, if this sport's not for you, then you're dead to me. Also, your shoes are hideous.
Hey, I have very similar shoes. I think we're keeping them going. You got to keep that Todd Pod color system going.
I
here.
actually put the toe line beneath my shoes today, and I cut a giant groove in my sole. So Ross is the oldest full-time-ish member of the Aviator PPG team.
I am. That's very new, but yes, that is.
That's the latest and greatest. So somehow, I can't say it was my convincing. It was probably Chris.
It's a little bit of everything. It's quite a family here, and once you're part of it, it's hard to leave.
So
Well, they won't let me leave, but I can't say that.
you retired how long ago?
Officially retired. That's a hard number to say, but about 3 years ago, and then I've been rebuilding houses for the last couple of years.
And you sold them all.
And I sold them all, and I found out I had no responsibilities for a while, so I decided to move into the van that I have and just travel the country. And I got here in January, and I've barely left.
Yeah, we let him leave to go get Catherine's new car, which was his old car. And Ross, I still can't believe it happened, honestly. I can't believe that you're willing to stay here.
It's an amazing company here. I have a lot of people ask me, it can't be real that everyone's this nice and this friendly here and so much family, but it is.
Well, they're more stressed out than they look on camera.
Well, that is true, yeah. But it is an amazing group of people here.
Well, truly, from the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you enough. Having you as a part of the team has been such a stabilizing force because your natural ability as an instructor is incredibly clear. I mean, tonight, I told him before we trained tonight, I said, listen, we're going to do tow machine. He was going to shadow me. And 10 minutes before we got there, I said, you're not going to shadow me. You're going to be on the throttle until things got picked up, and it was a little challenging. And I was like, I'll do it now. You shadow.
Yeah.
But I also said that after 6 tows, you're going to be good to go. I think it was 8. And
About that. It was a challenging evening.
But you were on the ball, and
Yeah.
you handled it. I didn't have to say anything. You had it dialed. And that's the thing that's really important to me is that every instructor we have here, you guys get responsibility piled on you with oversight, but you get the responsibility poured on you like, listen, we believe in you because we know your experience. And you crushed it.
It was a fun night. Get to kite people into the air. It's a lot of fun to basically have a remote control paramotor pilot.
With Chris controlling one side,
Yeah.
and you controlling the other side.
I think in the next class we'll get it really dialed in together.
I think so. And that's the big thing is that it's not an instant process. It's not like I'm going to hand you the reins and say, okay, it's all yours. But we're in a position where we're always growing together. And I'm excited because the class you got to tow into the air tonight, you get to go on a great adventure with.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing.
Tell the story. Tell who they are and what you're doing.
It's a company called Expedition Overlanders, and they are a YouTube channel. I think they're in their 9th season right now, and they've been they build amazing vehicles. They do amazing adventures everywhere from Canada to bottom of South America.
Yeah.
And everywhere in between.
Siberia.
And Siberia.
Yeah.
I'm learning every day what they've done, and it's crazy, all the stuff.
I define it as like you buy a Toyota Tacoma, and you throw $100,000 in parts on it, and then you
Just
go
a little bit.
drive everywhere with it. Like,
I'm hoping if I bring my van, they might like re-outfit it. I'll just keep getting it closer and closer and see what they can do with it.
I think that maybe you should just walk away with like a new Lexus or something.
There we go. I'm just in it for the merch. So
where are you guys going?
we are going to the Sonoran Desert in Mexico, which is going to be an amazing trip. We're going to have a race across the Sonoran Desert.
So you say a race. What's your role going to be?
I'm going to be driving. They're going to be flying, and I'm going to be driving their vehicles. So
Okay.
that'll be a fun transition for them to fly and me to drive.
So in the past, and we've done a pilot spotlight on you that shared some of your adventures. And if you guys haven't seen that, youtube.com/aviator, you can watch Ross share his adventures because flying over the Hoover Dam, flying through Mexico, flying. I mean, you've had some adventures.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been an amazing last 6-7 months that I've been on the road.
It feels like so much longer. Like I just feel like every time I look on Facebook, it's like, okay, Ross is doing something else really cool, which is kind of annoying because it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm still at work.
Yeah, well, I'm here too now.
No, I love it. I love it. I'm so honored that you're here, and the whole team is.
It's amazing here.
It's been really neat to see the team dynamic between you, Chris, Fletch, as the core up there, and then the new instructors we're bringing on with Mike and AJ, and the opportunity to learn from each other's experiences is vast. I mean, we could go into long explanations like we did yesterday about what your past is. I mean, you were a super duper epic master scuba dive instructor. I don't know all the right words, so I'm just going to keep
Just master
adding.
instructor.
Sure it is. But you've done a lot of training, and your patience with students is exceptional, and that's what empathy is everything.
I've terrible patience with myself, but endless patience with the students.
Same.
Yeah.
Guilty. Quick question from John Wallace. I'll give this one to you. Anyone know if you can put spacers between swing arm bars on the Tornado? It's kind of tight between the boobies. Asking for a friend.
Actually, we do have a set of called the Fat Boy spacers we can put on there.
Big boy kit. It's the big boy kit.
At least that's what Todd called it, the Fat Boy kit. So I'm gonna keep up with that. So the big boy kit on there, yes, we do. It's a couple spacers that are about 1.5 inches each, and a new set of bolts that go in there. It's a very easy conversion. So yeah, we do.
And it's definitely recommended if you have any issues. In fact, I'm not a big boy. I put big boy kit on mine because it gives better weight shift.
That's true.
So having the arms further outside, more like the fly products where you have a little more space between the harness, it's nice to have extra movement. James Robinson, our trike students towed during training. It really depends. If you come to a trike class, you're not going to be towed during training. However, you are going to be pulled during training. The difference is that you don't go into the air, but you're moved by a UTV, ATV that's coupled through a link so that the instructor can sit in front of you and give you exactly what you have to know how to do. But towing, generally not. It can be done. We have done it in the past. We found it not to be necessary, and a lot of trike students would be in a position where they might actually damage their knees or something else because of old age, knee replacements, or whatever else. How often does Ross eat at Felicious?
Way too often.
What is Felicious? It sounds like
Felicious is a Vietnamese restaurant that's in the mall. Actually, amazingly in the mall here.
I need to go eat there.
Yeah, actually, I looked for pho because there's only a limited number of restaurants I found in Lake Wales so far.
Pho.
You're right.
Fucking good.
Yeah. And I looked it up, and there's a spot in the mall. And like, really, I want to go to a place in the mall, but it's a little Vietnamese lady using her grandmother's recipe, and she grows all her own vegetables in her backyard. And it's right next to Taco Bell.
Next time you go there, I want takeout. All right.
Okay.
Because I don't go anywhere.
I brought in like 10 students one time, and every time I go there, she keeps asking when I'm bringing 10 more students back. So
I like it. Super Dave says, do you think an Atom 80 is a good idea for a 220-pound pilot? Ross?
Actually, it's a pretty good motor. I'm about 190 right now, and with the right wing, it's a very smooth, steady motor, gets you in the air very well. Paired with the right motor and the wing, I think that'd be a really good combination.
It can work. I would still recommend a 185 probably, just because at 220 you're going to run a long ways.
Yeah, you're going to run a long ways. It's not going to climb a lot, but it's going to be really smooth. So if you're a type of person who likes to get up 50 feet and just do a long, slow cruise, it's a good place to go. If you're at 4,000 feet, I probably wouldn't recommend that motor either. And
it's not a bad thing to have as a backup motor. That for me, like the Atom for me is if I'm going to do a short flight around the pattern to check the air, or if I'm going across country, I'm not flying my Moster. I'm going to fly the Atom. It sips fuel. It's a great choice. John Jensen asks how Mike Brown is doing. Mike seems to be doing very well. Mike's another one of our recent additions or potential additions to the team. Mike's been flying for 20 years. He's amazing. Almost as amazing as John Jensen. John, I freaking miss your face, dude. Please come see us. John's one of our past students. He's just an awesome human. Can we scroll up really quick, John, and take a look at people who shared so we can give away some stuff? Actually, they probably won't that much seen. Andre, you won. Email info@aviatorppg.com. We call Andre the Big Green Giant because he's not much taller, if taller at all, than Tyson, and probably 30 pounds heavier, and it's all muscle.
Oh, my God.
He's a nurse from Louisiana, and one of the most awesome dudes ever. Also, Sandor, you have won as well. You're going to win one of the final items, info@aviatorppg.com. Sandor, thanks for being a huge fan. Love you, buddy. So thankful to have you. And you are in place. John Wallace wants to know where you can buy the Fat Boy kit, Big Boy kit. We should have some still in stock here at Aviator. If not, we can order them for you. Other options for air conception parts are available at aerolite.com. Now, the last thing I want to talk about before I go to sleep, possibly on this table, you just got a new motor.
Yep, I just got a Maverick with a Muster 185 on it.
Tell me about your experience with your previous motor. Nothing mean. And what you feel like with this new motor.
The previous motor, I've definitely bonded with my Nitro that I had for so long. It became part of me.
Yes.
It had a number of 100 hours on that motor. It's gone through some growing pains and some issues here and there, but it's always kept flying. Right now, it's back to almost pristine condition.
After 2 crankcases, after 3 top ends?
I'm on my third. Yeah, it's
third crankcase.
And second set of cylinders.
By the way, part of the reason why we hired this guy is he's the most patient client I've ever met in my entire life.
I've had a lot of practice between my motors and rebuilding Woody's motors. I've got a lot of practice on the Nitros.
Well, how do you like the Parajet?
it's an amazing machine. Now that I'm starting to fly smaller and smaller wings, it allows me to climb a lot faster.
It does climb faster.
It's a lot smoother. I really like the weight shift on the Maverick frame. I'm quite impressed with. It's more than I was expecting.
And getting in and out of the seat is so much more effortless, which I really like.
I've realized that I don't even loosen the front flap that's on the motor. I just leave it tight, and the whole seat flips up right behind me. So that's been an amazing change.
Same. I landed for my first flight, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, I've been flying your motor for the last week until I got mine, so I got used to it, and it's definitely really, really nice. So I'm waiting for my Aviator throttle to put on it now.
So I guess I should talk about that. We have two big announcements coming. One's the Aviator throttle, which should be at endless foot drag, hopefully. And the second one, which is going to be endless foot drag, is the electronic fuel ignition for the Moster 185. It is electronic fuel injection. I'm tired. EFI has been a thing that I thought would be really cool for a really long time. With your engineering mind, I know you probably did too. Getting rid of the potential of having the motor running too hot, minimizing the throttle band so it's much more smooth, being able to start in cold, hot, high elevation, low elevation, never tweaking or tuning carburetors.
So much more fuel efficient.
I mean, 30-40% more fuel efficient. We've done a lot of work on the EFI. It's been about a year, maybe a little over a year-long project now, at a dollar number that is painful. It's significantly more than I make a year, almost what I make in 2. And I don't pay myself very much, but that's still a lot of money. We have it ready. There will be demo units of both the Aviator throttle and the EFI at endless foot drag, and it is it's exceptional. I don't know the exact increase in weight HA Aviation. It's probably 1.5 pounds.
With the parts you remove and add, it's about 1.5 pounds.
So it's we've had 4 units running since January, as often as they could run, including our tandem unit, our trike unit. Kyle's personal unit was EFI'd. Our engineer Alex's personal unit was EFI'd. No engine outs.
Starts on the first pull.
Second at worst.
Yeah.
If you try to pull before the primer gets there or the fuel pump gets there, it's exceptional. It's a game changer.
I'm gonna try to take it on a flight tomorrow.
You're gonna go 10,000-12,000 feet, right?
As high as I can get. We'll see how it goes.
So we're gonna dress him up in a Easter Bunny suit.
That's the fun part when it's 85 degrees on the ground.
That's the worst part. My highest flight was 11,200, and it was like 96 on the ground. I dressed for 96. I came down because it was too cold.
I'm a wimp when it comes to cold, but I'll sweat, so I'll dress up.
Let me get you some heated gloves out of inventory so you can have those. So we have all this stuff coming, and apparently I have some texts I have to read. Oh my gosh, so many questions. So Aviator throttles next month, EFI next month. I'll be making some posts on Facebook about this stuff too. Right now, the EFI will be available as a kit that we'll install for you. There's potentials that we'd love to see Vitarazi work with us and offer a factory model EFI, because I think that's the future. We put all the development in, we put all the effort in with our team, with Alex, who leads our engineering team. And a lot of help from Ross and Woody. It's been an exceptional project, and I'm really, really pleased with it. But finally being able to release it to the public is going to be huge. So it works. There's no issues with battery life. There's no issues with anything else. It just works, which is great. All right, holy crud, I hadn't opened my messages in an hour and 40 minutes. All right. Brett Young. Is the fuel injection option still going to be ready to demo by endless foot drag? Actually, the motor you see behind us right here is a Moster 185 powered Eclipse. It's being shipped to Alex Huff tomorrow to install our final prototype versions of the EFI. So that will be one of the units that's at endless foot drag, ready to rock and roll, and it should be glorious. Will it be able to be an addition to any paramotor, or will it be part of a setup? Quite frankly, it'll be available to add to any Moster 185 powered unit. Could you add it to something else? No, not really. We had a gentleman in the Middle East ask us to put one on a Polini 250, and the starting price is about halfway to 6 figures.
Yeah, the amount of engineering and time that went into tuning it correctly for the Moster 185 is quite a few hours put into it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to think about the dollar value. It's a huge investment, a huge project. In our opinion, it's worth it. I think it's to make the sport safer. It's to make the sport much, much easier. Having something you literally flick a switch, start your motor, and don't have to think about is a huge deal. We don't think about our cars anymore. We just turn the key.
Right.
That's what this is like.
Fewer moving parts in the carburetor.
Yep.
No Walbro 37 that you have to keep changing the diaphragms on.
Or that people inexplicably buy the cheaper version of the Walbro 37, not realizing that every carburetor that Vitarazi releases has 10 hours of machining in it. You know, it's a big deal. So then they blow up their motor because they try to save $20, and there's a lot to it. All right, more questions. Any word on the extra large fuel tank for the Maverick? No. The latest word is soon. I'm hoping by Endless Foot Drag we have an exact date, if not a release. So that's the end of May. I'm really hoping that happens. The last question was how much for EFI? We don't have a retail price. It's not cheap. It's a ton of money in components alone, and if you were to go off the shelf and just buy components without any of the mapping, any of the effort, any of the engineering, any of the time on the mill back there.
Talking to how much effort Alex has put into tuning that engine and what he went through, it'd be a chore.
I think just the off the shelf parts are between $960 and $1,400 depending on where you buy them. So it's not dirt cheap. It's not going to be an option for everybody, but it's our goal is that we either sell a whole bunch of them so we get the price down, or that we can work with Vitarazi so that it could be something that's offered to every pilot, because I think this is something that every pilot should have the opportunity to use. I think that if you bought a Moster and it had a EFI on it, no one else can compete with that. I mean, there's nobody else out there who's going to have an engine that runs that smooth, that well, etc. So
it's altitude adjusting, which I think is amazing.
Yep, it's huge. You can climb to 12,000 feet and it should run just as well as it does at sea level. You know, it's fantastic. I heard that if you buy an Aviator throttle, you get an Aviator helmet for free. Close. Are you still carrying the Flight Products parts, the Rider Thrust? I can't find them on the website. Yes, Calvin, we are. If you're having issues with the website, please send us an email. John at aviatorppg.com. He is our webmaster. He can help you. John, do you have any thoughts on where those parts are? Use the search bar. That's the answer. Use the search bar. We're working on recategorizing right now, but right now, if you can't find something, the search bar works beautifully.
There are wingtip strobes on the store.
I am going to showcase these really quick. I'm going to kill the camera. This is a video that's coming out by the end of the week, hopefully. You guys have seen these in the Paradigm videos this week. In fact, the new one came out today. Excuse me, from Sun and Fun. These are pretty bright. And they're not just single directional, they're omnidirectional. I can't see now. But these are designed so that any direction you point them, you have light. There is one competitor for them. It's actually the Firehouse strobes.
Right.
We put the Firehouse strobes in our wings at Oshkosh last year. We wanted to have wingtip strobes that looked really cool. And we were so disappointed with the output. So we made these. They cost $7 more a piece. They have double the lights, a much larger battery.
Each light is much brighter than the Firehouse one.
They're much brighter, and they're available in the store right now. So if you guys want to have something that's really cool, there's two things you can do with it. One, you can mount it on your wing. Like in your wingtip, you slide it. If you have an ozone, you open what they call the LBH, leaky butthole. You slide it inside, tie it off. If you have a different brand wing, you just push it inside the wingtip itself. And then tie it off. You can take a piece of string like this. I don't know if you guys can see that there's string on there. And then the other option is to tie it to the edge of your cage. This is far brighter than most other solutions for a 3-mile legal strobe. You can definitely see it for over 3 miles.
Oh, yeah.
And it has a great battery life. I think the last time I tested it, it ran for over 6 hours.
About that, yeah. I left mine on and I came back and they were still going. It was by accident, but yeah, they were still going after about 4 hours at the time I looked.
Yeah, so this is a great option for you guys. I don't want to make this a sales pitch. We are working on a video that explains how to install them, etc. In energy management, says Eric Flash me. Hey, girl. So Yankee NSC1 says, is the injector battery fired so your power is reliant on the electrical system? Yes, anytime you're using a fuel injection system, your power is reliant on the electrical system because you have a fuel pump to drive. So we developed an electrical system that allows it to operate anytime the prop is spinning, so there's no issue. We've had zero issues. We've also started using a different battery system that's smart batteries that are much lighter than other ones out there. All right. It's really late. Do you have any final words?
My only words is I'm going to love this trip that I get to go on, but because of that, I'm going to miss both of the upcoming fly-ins, which both Bad Apples and the Endless Foot Drag, which I was just about ready to drive out to.
Sorry.
So it's a hard choice.
I hope Mexico's just
It's going to be amazing.
So worth it. So jealous. Dude.
But Endless Foot Drag is such a fun fly-in, but
I've never been.
I'm going to Mexico.
I'm excited to go to Endless Foot Drag. I've never been out there. I'm going to fly out there Thursday afternoon is my plan. So
Last year I was going to go, okay, it's in the middle of Kansas. What's there besides corn? But it was such an amazing landscape around everywhere. There was so many more rolling hills and little lakes and tree lines and the best Amish diner that you've ever eaten at.
I've heard this from everyone.
It's like we were trying to figure out how big the parking lot is to see if we could land there.
That's awesome.
And come in there. They start at 3 o'clock in the morning making all their food. It's like, yeah, I'm going to miss that part.
Well, I'll come back from EFD a little fatter. We will see all of you guys back here next week, Tuesday night, probably around 6 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you so much for watching. Much love to all you guys. We've got 113 people watching live right now, plus the thousands of you who watch on YouTube, Facebook, and podcast later. It's a great joy to be able to share some of our life with you all. It's an honor. Tyson, thank you. Ross, thank you. And a huge thank you to poor John and Nina, who are still here with their dogs at 10:13 at night. Thank you both, and have a great night to everyone in the community who's a part of this. We are so appreciative, and now there's a puppy in the shot. Have a great night, guys. So long.